Where are we?
The future. The final battle between humans and machines.
Great, I'd rate this rescue about a 2. Maybe a 1.
When Universal Studios Florida opened in 1990, the company promoted the park as a place where guests could ride the movies. Early attractions were heavily themed to blockbuster films, but Universal wanted to expand its use of intellectual property in more ambitious and technically advanced ways. By the mid-1990s, the studio partnered with filmmakers to explore projects that combined traditional film production with theme park design. One of the most prominent outcomes of this strategy was Terminator 2 3D Battle Across Time, a hybrid stage show and 3D film attraction based on Terminator 2 Judgment Day. The attraction debuted in 1996 at Universal Studios Florida and would later be cloned in Hollywood and Japan. It stood out for its use of practical stunts, multi-screen 3D projection, synchronized live action, and the involvement of the original cast and filmmakers behind the Terminator film franchise.
Imagine a world where butterflies run on batteries.
Before we really dig into this ride, I just want to say thanks to all my new subscribers. It really is great to see that there are people that are actually enjoying the content that I'm putting out there, so thank you so much. And if you're watching these videos and you're not already a subscriber, maybe now's the right time. Also, thank you to all of those that have been making suggestions for videos to do in the future. I know T2-3D has not come up as a suggestion yet, but it's one of my all-time favourites, so I hope you'll indulge me in letting me talk about this ride today. If you would like a shout out in a future video, pop down into the comments and give me some suggestions for attractions, rides, shows that you'd like me to do a deep dive into in the future. Terminator 2 Judgment Day, released in 1991, was a milestone in visual effects and box office performance. It became one of the most financially successful films of the early 1990s and introduced wide audiences to partially CGI'd characters such as the T-1000. The film's immediate success positioned it as a great candidate for theme park adaptation. Universal Creative began exploring a Terminator-based attraction as early as 1993. Initial proposals considered both a traditional motion simulator and a walkthrough format. Eventually, designers proposed a theatre-style show that would combine a pre-recorded 3D film with live stage elements, offering a more seamless blend between cinema and real-time performance. The concept was considered high risk due to the complexity of combining multiple performance mediums. It also raised questions about narrative continuity with the film franchise. Someone who was especially worried about this was Terminator director James Cameron, who actually made a point of meeting with the creators of this ride in order to understand the creative direction they were going in.
Our idea in this was to integrate a film show with a live show, which I don't think anybody's really done. And then the logical thing was do it in 3D so that the objects on the screen can become almost indistinguishable from the people in the foreground, and you can actually create this kind of breakdown of the barrier between reality and film reality.
James Cameron, fully expecting to hate the project, was actually incredibly impressed with the work that the creative team at Universal Studios had put into designing this ride. So much so that he agreed to participate in the project himself under the condition that it be treated as a direct extension of the Terminator film series. He was given full creative control over the filmed segments of the attraction and insisted on writing a new canonical storyline that would follow the events of T2 Judgment Day. Cameron co-wrote the screenplay for the attraction. The script was structured to function as a short sequel that could be understood without prior knowledge of the films, but still preserve the tone, dialogue and world building of the franchise. Cameron referred to the project as T2.5 during development. Cameron also pushed for the inclusion of the original cast. All 4 principal actors from T2, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, Edward Furlong and Robert Patrick, returned to film new scenes specifically for the attraction. Filming took place at Cameron's production company Lightstorm Entertainment. Visual effects were handled by Digital Domain, a company co-founded by Cameron in 1993. The attraction's film segments were shot using 70mm film for increased resolution, making it one of the highest quality 3D theatrical presentations ever produced for a theme park. Cameron also oversaw final integration to ensure visual continuity between film and stage. In interviews at the time, Cameron described the project as a short action film with live effects, rather than a conventional ride or show. His involvement led to higher production standards and a continuity of style that closely mirrored the cinematic language of T2. And really the end goal was a cinematic sequel that you could only see at one place.
See that it's actually a continuation of the storyline. It's almost like a third Terminator film. It's just that you can't go to see it at any theater in your neighborhood. There's only one or hopefully two theaters in the world that you can go to see the next Terminator movie.
Guests began the experience in a Cyberdyne Systems orientation room, where a live presenter and pre-recorded videos introduced new military technologies, including the T-70 autonomous infantry robot. This pre-show established the attraction's satirical tone and corporate branding. Even now, when I see certain commercials that are worded in a really specific way, I still think about this promotional video in the pre-show room. It made me smile the entire time I watched it. It was just such expertly written, satirical, ironic propaganda, and I lapped it up, as did everyone watching. The little murmurs of laughter when Shaq comes on screen to shoot that accurate shot with a computerized contact lens in, always got a great chuckle out of the audience. Guests were then moved into a large main theatre where the bulk of the show then took place. The central film was projected across 3 massive interconnected 70mm screens in 3D. Live performers portraying Sarah Connor, John Connor, and a stunt double for the T-800 entered the stage during key moments, interacting with the on-screen action in real time. A custom-built motorcycle rig allowed the T-800 actor to drive a practical bike onto the stage, save John Connor from the T-1000 who was approaching, and then disappear into the film projection via a synchronized lighting and video effect. The film then followed the characters through the future war against Skynet, culminating in a confrontation with a new machine, the T-1000, a massive spider-like variation of the T-1000, created with a mix of CGI and in-theatre environmental effects. Throughout the experience, in-theatre effects such as strobe lighting, smoke, wind, and subwoofer-powered seat rumble systems were used to simulate explosions, impacts, and weapon fire. And let's not forget that water effect when the T-1000 explodes. The show concluded with Skynet's destruction and a brief epilogue delivered by Sarah Connor. T2 3D used a theatre infrastructure custom built to accommodate its multimedia design. Each theatre housed 3 70mm projectors to create a wraparound 3D image. Special polarised glasses were distributed to guests to allow for stereoscopic viewing. The live action portion relied on precise synchronisation with the film. Stage performers had to hit specific marks for lighting cues, audio effects, and physical stunts to appear coordinated with the on-screen narrative. A series of trapdoors, lifts, and timed lighting changes supported these transitions. The T-800's motorcycle sequence involved a turntable lift that could safely bring the vehicle onto stage and retract it without disrupting the illusion. Mechanical and electrical systems required routine calibration, and the show included backup systems in case of synchronization errors or mechanical faults. Due to its complexity, the attraction required a larger operations team than most theatre-based attractions. You had stage technicians, projectionists, and a rotating team of stunt performers who were all necessary for daily operation. So following the Florida launch in April of 1996, T2 3D was recreated at Universal Studios Hollywood in 1999 and then Universal Studios Japan in 2001. The cloned versions used the same film footage and pre-show structure, with slight modifications made to the layout and seating capacities based on the available space they had. The Hollywood version occupied the former site of Castle Dracula Theatre, while the Japan version debuted as part of the park's grand opening. Both versions maintain the full cast and production elements from the Florida original. By the late 2000s, T2 3D Battle Across Time began showing signs of operational and technological aging. Although the core film component remained largely unchanged since its 1996 debut, industry standards for projection quality and in-theatre effects had advanced significantly. Digital projection had become the norm across theme parks, while T2 3D continued to rely on analog 70mm film projectors, which were expensive to maintain and required regular manual upkeep. Spare parts for the projectors and equipment became increasingly difficult to source. Operationally, the attraction remained labour-intensive. Unlike screen-based rides that could run with minimal staffing, T2-3D required a team of live actors, technicians and projectionists for every show cycle. Live performers were required to undergo regular safety training for stunt coordination, particularly for the motorcycle sequence and in-stage pyrotechnic effects. The necessity of multiple human-operated systems also introduced more failure points compared to fully automated attractions. And while the Terminator brand remained recognisable, it didn't hold the same cultural relevance that it had in the 90s. Several later films in the franchise, including Terminator Salvation and Genesis, further reduced the likelihood of the attraction drawing new audiences. I guess Universal's opinion was that newer theme park guests unfamiliar with the characters might find the storyline harder to follow, so executives began to evaluate the cost benefits of keeping the attraction in operation. The first version to close was the Hollywood location, which shut down permanently on December 31st, 2012. Hollywood cited the need for more space and the growing popularity of newer properties such as Despicable Me, which replaced T2-3D in mid-2014. The closure aligned with a broader strategy to pivot toward more family-friendly franchises and reduce dependency on aging action properties. The original Florida version remained open longer, operating for over 21 years. In April 2017, Universal Orlando announced that T2-3D would permanently close in the fall to make way for a new live-action experience based on a high-energy Universal franchise. The final show was then held on October 8, 2017. No closing ceremony was held, but the attraction did receive a small crowd of fans and theme park enthusiasts on its final day of operation. The replacement attraction was eventually revealed to be the Bourne Stuntacular, which opened in 2020 and utilised much of the same theatre infrastructure but with operated projection systems, larger LED screens and a digital control system for stunts and lighting. Those of you who've attended the Bourne Stuntacular will probably agree that it is an excellent show and looks beautiful on those digital screens, is really well made and is quite a unique theme park experience. But I don't think it comes close to T2-3D and what you got to experience in that theatre between 1996 and 2017. T2-3D Battle Across Time occupies a distinct place in the history of theme park attractions due to its hybrid design, technical ambition and direct collaboration with a major Hollywood director. At the time of its launch, few attractions combined live performance, large format 3D film and synchronized practical effects at this scale. The show's reliance on 70mm film, along with the involvement of digital domain for visual effects, resulted in a level of cinematic presentation that exceeded most attractions of the era. James Cameron's involvement also set a precedent. So unlike many theme park tie-ins that were loosely adapted from their source material, T2-3D was treated by its creators as a canonical continuation of the Terminator narrative. Cameron's decision to write, direct and cast the attraction's film segments as if they were part of a theatrical sequel blurred the lines between film production and themed entertainment. The attraction also contributed to the evolution of the media-based theme park show, where filmed content and physical space are designed together as an integrated experience. Unlike earlier 3D theatre shows, such as Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, T2-3D didn't isolate the film from the live experience. Instead, it used the film to advance the story while extending the narrative onto the stage. This format influenced later projects, including the Bourne Stuntacular that would later take its place. From an operational standpoint, T2-3D demonstrated both the potential and limitations of live media hybrid attractions. While it delivered a unique experience, it also required more intensive maintenance than later digital-only rides. Many of its innovations were ultimately replaced with more efficient technologies, but its theatrical format still serves as a case study in early multimedia integration within themed entertainment. And today, the attraction is remembered as a high watermark of 1990s Universal creative design. Its legacy lies not just in its technical execution, but in its approach to IP storytelling, treating an attraction not as a simplified tie-in, but as a legitimate extension of a cinematic universe. For guests who experienced it during its run, it represented a rare instance where theme park media and Hollywood production values were fully aligned. Thanks so much for joining me on this video today. T2-3D really is one of those nostalgic attractions that I remember incredibly fondly, And it's also one of those that I miss the most. There really is nothing like it at Universal anymore. Drop into the comments and let me know what you remember of this ride. Was it one that you loved? Was it one that you never got to experience? Drop down and let me know in the comments. Please also pop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. It's incredibly helpful to me. And if you've been watching these videos and you're not already a subscriber, maybe now's the right time. Our community would love to have you here. But most importantly, drop in the comments and let me know what attraction you'd like me to do a deep dive into next. And if Universal attractions interest you, why don't you check out this video next? Thanks so much for joining me today, and remember, I'll be back.